Hey, welcome to another episode of Champagne Convos, the podcast. I'm going to jump right into it today. Some of us keep saying we want relationships. And honestly, what we really want is a contract. We want clarity, we want guarantees, we want protection, and we want certainty. And when people don't follow the terms and conditions that we created in our heads, we start questioning their intentions. I learned a lot about the dating scene recently, and I'll get into some of the stories that I could tell. But the problem that I'm observing is that relationships are operating like contracts, and that's just not reality. Contracts are designed to protect assets. Relationships are designed to build connection. The two things don't compute very well together. Let's be honest, connection is messy, and it requires trust, it requires grace, and it requires our ability to navigate things that aren't always super black and white. So here's the question. Do you want a relationship or do you just want a contract? Here's the real problem. I was talking to one of my guys recently and he likes this young lady. She likes him. And on paper, everything should be fine, right? But they found themselves stuck in a place that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. Fear. Not because either person did anything terrible or because there was a betrayal or because somebody DM'd somebody on the side. Nobody got caught doing anything crazy. The truth is they were both simply afraid of getting hurt. My guy was frustrated because he felt like he'd been clear. He was black and white. He was direct. He was upfront. And in his mind, there shouldn't have been any confusion. But on the other side, she was interpreting the same clarity differently. Because here's something I've learned. Communication isn't measured by what was said. It's measured by what was understood. The message you send and the message somebody receives aren't always the same. And when fear enters the conversation, people start reading between lines that don't exist. Every delayed text message means something, every unanswered question, every unexplained decision, not because it does, but because fear is filling in the blanks. And that's when I realized something. A lot of us are approaching relationships like attorneys, not like partners. The challenge with operating from a contract mindset is that eventually everything becomes transactional. I did this, so you should do that. I showed up, so you should show up. That's not a relationship. I communicated, so you should communicate. And while none of that is wrong, there is a hidden danger. The moment life gets complicated, contracts start breaking down pretty quickly. People have bad days because life isn't always neat. People get scared because people become overwhelmed. People miscommunicate because people carry wounds that they haven't healed yet. Life be lifing, right? Is the summary of that. And if our only framework is cause and direct, eventually somebody violates that agreement. And then we start keeping score. Now we're counting texts. Now we're counting sacrifices. Now we're counting friends. Now we're counting mistakes. And the relationship slowly becomes nothing more than a courtroom. Everybody's building a case and nobody's building connection. Think about your closest friendships. Think about the people you trust. Think about your family members you've remained close to throughout the years. Today, we're going to dig into a little bit of a framework that we can use going forward. And it's not just for dating. This is for friendships. This is for business partnerships. This is for marriage, leadership, whatever it may be. If you're working with people, family, even, you can leverage this. And the framework is called trust, T-R-U-S-T. The T is going to be terms. Terms is going to be simple. What was actually said, not what we assumed, not what we hoped, but what we heard. What was actually communicated. A lot of conflict starts because we're responding to expectations that were never discussed. We create invisible contracts and then become upset when people violate them. If it matters, say it. Don't expect people to read your mind. Now, the R is received. How was it received? This is where maturity starts because intent and impact aren't always the same thing. And I've said things with good intentions that tend to land bad, right? I've done that a ton in my experience. You've probably done the same. The question isn't just what did I mean? The question is what did they hear? Strong communicators should care about both. The U is uncertainty. What fear is filling in the gaps? This might be the biggest one because scared people fill gaps. Because uncertainty creates stories, and most of us are incredible storytellers. Think about your dreams. We can take a 2-hour delay in communication and create a 3-season Netflix series. Fear loves empty space because it's awkward, and we have to fill it. And if we don't fill that gap with communication, we fill it with assumptions. The S is security. Are you pursuing connection or protection? Simple question. This is the uncomfortable one because some of us aren't dating people, we're managing risk. Some of us aren't building friendships, we're managing risk. Some of us aren't leading teams, we're managing risk. Every decision becomes about preventing disappointment, and relationships are all about risking the disappointment, not preventing rejection, not preventing pain. The problem is protection can keep pain out, but it can also keep intimacy out. The same walls that protect us ultimately isolate us. And then T, together. Can we stay connected through misunderstanding? Also known as, can we fight good? Because that's the real test. Anybody who can stay connected when things are smooth, that's fine. The question is, can we stay connected when expectations aren't met? When feelings get involved, when life starts life, and that's where the relationship separates themselves. Again, do you fight good? When I talk to people in relationships, that's one of the first things I'm trying to evaluate for. Are you able to fight good, or do you go below the belt? Do you go into your defensive mode? If you can't find ways to have conflict with the person you're supposed to be in relationship with, that relationship is a ticking time bomb. And so this week, I want us to really put this into practice and audit our relationships. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. Where am I keeping score? Number 1, because scorekeeping is often evidence of a contract mindset. Number 2 is, where am I making assumptions? Because assumptions are usually where fear lives. And then 3, where am I demanding certainty from something that should require trust? That's a big one because trust costs a lot. It requires vulnerability, it requires patience, and most importantly, it requires risk. But that's also why it's valuable and why when it's broken, we go into shambles. And so whether it's marriage, whether it's business, whether it's friendship, it doesn't really matter. The deepest connections in our lives are never fully protected. They're just the ones we chose, and we choose to fight through all the hard parts. And so I'll close with this. One of my people, Jay, shout out to Jay Hall. She said something the other day that stuck with me. She said, it's always personal because it was personal when you were uniquely created. And maybe that's why relationships are so challenging, is because each of us is uniquely created. There is no multiples of any of us. And the reality is people aren't projects. They're people. People are complicated. People are emotional. People are evolving. People are ever changing. People are just like us. We get it wrong sometimes. And so before we ask whether somebody is meeting our expectations, we should also ask ourselves, am I building a relationship or am I just enforcing a contract? Because if the only thing holding us together is the agreement, we don't have a relationship. We have terms and conditions. Hey, appreciate y'all tapping in. Champagne Convos. Cheers.